Okay, so I read a book called Graceling, and here's a quick summary of it. It's about a girl named Katza who is 18 years old, and is graced with the gift of advanced strength, fighting skills, and surviving skills. People who are graced have two different colored eyes, which sets them apart from normal people, and they're called Gracelings. Katza's parents died when she was young, and she was taken in by her uncle Rana, who is king of the Midlands. Uh, Cat like he Her uncle Rana could see what her powers could do, and he turned her into a child assassin at the age of 10. And at the age of 18, Katza realized what she was doing was very, very wrong. And so she ran away from her uncle's service with Poe, who is another Graceling, who is the Prince of Lined. And so they leave for Mansilla to investigate the untimely deaths of the Mansilla's king and queen, who are related to Poe. And when they've heard that the new king of Mansilla is pretty good, but when they arrive there, they see him chasing his wife and daughter, who are Poe's aunt and cousin. And the king actually shoots and kills his wife, but somehow manages to convince Katza that it's an accident. And this is where it's discovered that the king's he has a grace, and his grace is mind control. And so they help save Bitterblue, which is Poe's cousin. But when they're saving her, Poe gets hurt, so they have to leave him behind so they don't slow her and Bitterblue down. And they're going to Poe's castle actually for safety. And so the majority of the book is just them a long journey from there to Poe's castle. And when they finally make it there, they actually find out that the king with the mind control is there. So just as he was about to brainwash Katza, she finds the strength to kill him. So for my first literary device, I chose to do imagery, and a passage I found on page 98 that I thought didn't show like the five senses, but it gave us like an insight on what was happening and like brought us into the story deeper, was when it said, they ate together most days after practicing, in her dining room alone or in Raffin's workrooms with Raffin and Ben. Sometimes at a table Raffin had brought into Tilof's room. Their grandfather was still very ill, but company seemed to cheer and strengthen him. When they sat together, sometimes the silver and gold of Poe's eyes caught her off guard. She could not become used to his eyes. They muddled her, but she met them when he looked at her, and forced herself to breathe and talk and not become overwhelmed. They were his eyes. They were only his eyes. She wasn't a coward. And besides, she didn't want to behave toward him as the entire court behaved towards her, avoiding her eyes awkwardly, coldly. She didn't want to do that to a friend. The significance of this in the story is this kind of is where Poe's and Katza's relationship, or like friendship, kind of begins, and throughout the story it's always kind of like a presence, and it's one of the main aspects of the story, or what it's built around, because like even though it says it's like a fantasy adventure book, it's kind of just more of a chick flick. Yeah, it's not really as adventure as it seems. Okay, so the second my second like literary device is indirect characterization, and I found that on example on page 157. And it says, Katza, he said, think about it. You're 5 times the fighter I am. When we fight, you're holding back. Don't tell me you aren't, because I know you are, and I'm not holding back, not a bit. And you can do anything you want to me, and I can't hurt you. So first off, this shows just how like powerful Katza is, because she's like Poe, the guy who's talking right now, is a very, very talented fighter. He's known as like the best in his kingdom actually. And it also shows that Katza she's friends with Poe, like the last piece of evidence. And because it says that she's holding back, and if she really didn't like him, she probably wouldn't hold back a lot. Okay, so my third layer of advice is repetition. On page 230, when it says, she says, Katza, I don't want a husband, I don't want a husband. Her saying this over and over again, she actually said she matched it to the rhythm of her horse's hooves. So she must have thought about it a lot, and this shows us a lot about Katza's character and how she wants to be independent and not have to rely on anybody, or even like, so nobody has to depend on her too. And that's kind of throughout the whole book. She's just trying to be free. Like, even when she leaves her uncle's like kingdom, she did that because she didn't feel like she was free working for him. And even towards the end of the story, she's still looking for that freedom. So I think the theme of this book is actually fear of commitment. Because throughout the whole story, Katz is telling herself that she doesn't need a husband or someone to be there with her. Like, for example, when she said, I don't need a husband, which is one of my examples, I think the reason she was saying that was not because she really doesn't want one, but it's because she's scared of losing them because her parents died when she was very young, and I don't think she wants that to happen again to her. And yeah, because like so far in her life, she, like, before she met Poe, she really had almost no one to trust or like really connect with, which is why she doesn't want to connect with anybody else, because if she does, she thinks that she'll end up eventually losing them.